I hope I'm wrong about this, but I don't think like Lee Sklar is outside doing yard work on a Saturday afternoon.
He
I would
well,
love to be wrong though.
he talks about that on some of his podcasts. He gets out there and does stuff,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, he was had some guy doing something in his backyard, and he was moving rocks around and helping the guy.
Welcome to episode 141 of the Bass Shed Podcast. My name is Ryan Roberts. What's up, folks? What's up, folks? News. What do I got? What do I got that's news? Not a lot, but do my best to improve the show. Whatever I can to kind of, up the game of the podcast here. Something new that's happening is the Bass Shed Podcast Backstage Pass. Head to the bassshed.com. Click on Backstage Pass. There I'm going to have some exclusive content, some things that happened in interviews that didn't, kind of a director's cut. Things that didn't make the episode, not for any other reason. Usually it's because of time constraints on the episode. But there'll be that. Ways to search previous episodes. So if you want, you can search the previous episodes of the Bass Shed Podcast by topic. So if you're interested in like just listening to classical players or just listening to hearing from touring bassists or solo artists or whatever, you'll be able to search by topic. What else is up there? There's exclusive clips. There's going to be some free transcriptions from the Bass Shed Academy. All kinds of things. It's the Backstage Pass. Stop by thebassshed.com. Speaking of the Bass Shed Academy, coming up on June 6th through 9th, that whole weekend, the Bass Shed Academy has mobilized, has organized Summer Soundwave 25. This is what we're calling it. What Summer Soundwave is it is a collection of music stores all banding together to promote specific brands and their what they have at their store. And how this came to be was two different music stores I work with: the Amp Shop up in North Hollywood, the Amp Shop Bass Exchange, and also Lemur Music, which you guys have definitely heard me talk about. Had talked to me separately about like, man, it'd be cool if there was like the little bass day, like this little kind of NAMM bass day that happened in Southern California to promote small business. And so those talks have been happening for about a year and a half. And then I was up at the Amp Shop one time, my friend Gary up there, we were talking about it, and I'm like, man, well, instead of trying to like rent out a big event space and get everybody over to this one space, to have like kind of a bass day convention for local artists and local music stores and retailers and manufacturers, why don't we just all get the stores and manufacturers to band together and throw one big kind of weekend blowout. It almost has like a festival feel. Like as we're putting it together, it feels like we're organizing a festival. Stores will just be cross promoting each other. There'll be live music. There'll be clinics at different shops. It's gonna be a fun weekend that still takes a lot of work to put together, but we're making it happen. In the famous words of Mr. Jerry Drummond, we are making it happen. So stop by the bassshed.academy.org, go to events, click on Summer Soundwave 25, and check out some details about what's going on there. There's going to be raffles, there's going to be giveaways, there's going to be clinics, right? Stay tuned for that. You can sign up for the newsletter there if you want updates. But there'll be more information coming very soon, and that is Summer Soundwave 25. All right, like I just mentioned, Lemur Music, huh? These are my friends down in San Clemente, California. I saw a good friend of the podcast, Lance Morrison, who session bassist, currently on the road with Dirty Knobs. He was down there, and I saw him post that he was down at Lemur. And then the folks at Lemur called me, like, yo, do you know Lance? I'm like, yeah, I know Lance. I was like, oh, he's just in the shop. Great guy. So, Lance, if you're listening, cool, man. Cool. I'm glad you got an upright. And I'm glad you went down to Lemur Music. Lemur Music, everything you need for the double bass. Shop their inventory, bows, basses, accessories, you name it. LemurMusic.com. Use the promo code TheBassShed, all one word, for 10% off. Shop their inventory of bows, basses, rosin, accessories, sheet music, you name it. LemurMusic.com, everything you need for the double bass. Use the promo code TheBassShed, all one word, for 10% off. This is the book, folks. Jerry Jamont, 15 Timeless Bass Lines. That's right. The 15 timeless bass lines that are in this book. Piece of my heart, Deborah, think, you send me. I say a little prayer. People gotta be free. I ain't got no, I got life. Instant groove, why I sing the blues. The thrill is gone, so excited. The revolution will not be televised. Attica blues, hot southern soul, and city blues. That's right. 15 timeless bass lines transcribed. Bass lines of the legendary Jerry Jamont. Jerry and I put this book together over the course of last year, and I am proud to announce that it is on Amazon now. The ebook version you can get on Amazon.com. There's a link in the show notes. We are working with Amazon to get the paperback together. I don't think Amazon cares about what I think of them. It seems like they're doing fine by themselves. But what Amazon does not do is pay attention to music transcription books. So the paperbacks that are going to be coming will not have this spiral bound. Like, this would be a huge feature to me. That's why the direct copies from the BassShed Academy.org, shameless plug, will have the spiral bound, right? Because then it lays flat. Then it lays flat on the music stand. There's nothing worse than like trying to put the crease in the book, because of it has the glue on the spine. No, that's no good. Go to the BassShedAcademy.org, order like the legit copy with the spiral bound, because Amazon won't do that unless I print up thousands of them and unless I print up thousands and send them to Amazon for them to do shipping. That's a lot of money. And I'm not a book publisher. Stop by BassShedAcademy.org, get your copy of the spiral bound Jerry Jamont 15 Timeless Bass Lines transcription book, available in standard notation and tab. The ebook is also available at my website, and the ebook is available at Amazon.com, and there's a link in the show notes below. On the episode is Bud LeCompte. Bud LeCompte is a bass builder and pickup designer that I've been following for a long time. I've always been interested. Every time I come across something, and it seems like, that's unique. That's really interesting. What's going on here? And I read up about it. More often than not, it's going to be something that was designed or built by Bud LeCompte. So it was great to have him on the show. I've been checking out replacing one of my pickups with one of his for quite some time, and so I got to stay after the interview. We hung on the line for a little bit and talked about that. Yeah, he's always got really interesting pickup configurations, and what he's doing with the poles and the just the magnet layout patterns on the basses are really interesting. All the options you can do between series and parallel and combinations of that within the magnets, super interesting, and there's so much versatility in his pickup design. That's really, really interesting to me. Some of the basses that I love of his, one specifically, is the LeCompte 8EZ. That's the product line. That's the bass, the 8EZ. And I was thinking about it, and as I was preparing for this episode, I was really kind of getting into that bass specifically, and I'm like, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the Ibanez Roadstar from like the late 70s, early 80s. Something about this bass that really reminds me of that. I wonder if that was the source of inspiration for this build for him. And I got to ask him about that. There's also the Acid J reminded me of another builder. I was just curious if it was inspired by another builder. And I got to ask him about that too. I got to ask him about some of the science that's behind his pickup design. We talked a lot about wood choice and bass construction and those things. But Bill is also a player, right? He's not just a builder where he's in the wood shop building basses, but he also plays the bass, and he's very active, and he'll talk about that. It was a great time. He's a bass builder I'm very interested in. I'm looking to have him do some work for my basses. I'm so excited about that, and look forward to getting my own LeCompte bass soon. And here it is. Here's my talk with bass builder and pickup designer Bud LeCompte.
There you go.
Hey, Bud.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing all right. How you doing?
Great.
Cool.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. You got a nice little collection there right behind you.
Yeah, a couple of these are my own.
Okay.
My players, so yeah.
How many of them do you just build and then you're like, nah, that one's gonna be mine. Like I'm gonna hold on to this one.
Not very many. Not that little yellow short scale right there. I think I'm gonna hang on to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of neat, and it's kind of I don't play it much, but I like it. You know, when I pick it up.
Right.
And then this white one here, it's my daily.
Okay.
My go-to.
Nice. Now you started in auto restoration. Is that correct?
Yeah, out of high school, I got into auto body repair and restoration, that kind of stuff, and that's where I learned how to use tools and make things fit and line up and straight and square and all that kind of stuff. So,
and then were you already playing bass at that time?
Probably more guitar at that time. I did start on bass. I got my first bass when I was 13.
Okay.
I played it up through high school, and then I sold it and was playing guitar a lot at that time. And I acquired a bass or two along the way. But I've only been playing seriously about 25, 26 years.
Only.
Yeah.
And then you started the company at well, hold on. Actually, before we I dive too far into this, correct me on the pronunciation of your last name.
LeCompte.
Okay, LeCompte.
Yeah.
Okay, just I'm notorious for messing up last names, and so I had to.
That's an odd one. It's an odd one. You don't see it very often.
Is it French?
Yeah, very French.
Yeah.
I'm from Louisiana originally. So
that was my thought. That was my thought. Okay. So you start LeCompte Basses then in 2004. What was the first build?
I still got it. I got my first two. I had an uncle and he passed away, and I inherited a lot of his power tools and things, and that's when I started from scratch. I had built parts things, and I think I had built a body or two, through the years, but that's when I got serious about doing everything myself.
Yeah, that's a big undertaking to. Especially you're a one-man show. You do every aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
One, as someone who similarly is a one-man show, with all the things I do with the podcast here and the nonprofit and all the teaching, blah blah blah, it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting.
Yeah, you're the got to order the parts. I got to design everything. I do all the woodwork, all the wiring, assembly, build the pickups, sweep the floors, fix the tools,
Right.
pack everything up, ship them out. It's a big deal.
Yeah. So when you decided to get into this and you inherited tools, then what was the inspiration for the first build? Were you just going to try to recreate a Fender style bass?
No, the Fender came second. I was just looking online, just trying to, figure out a shape, something that was unique. I didn't want to really copy anything. And I think it was an MTD I was kind of looking at. I was kind of inspired by that, but I ended up warping it and changing it so much it didn't really resemble anything an MTD. And that was my first one. And then I tackled the Fender. I built like a fretless P bass sort of thing, and kind of went from there. I got away from the Fender stuff. After that, I didn't really want to build fender shaped objects, as they say.
Hmm.
So, got away from that and started trying to do original looking, designs and sketching out a lot of stuff. I became like a junkie with that stuff. I was just like coming up with base design. I had too many. I had just dozens and dozens and dozens of them.
When looking through the bases you made and the different series of bases you made, I do see some bases that seem inspired by some of my favorite base companies. The Acid J to me is very reminiscent of the Roscoe LG body shape.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love Roscoe bases. I've never owned one, but all the ones I've played, always been a fan. And then the base I'm personally interested in out of your collection, which I will, either hang on the line and we can talk about it, or it'll be another call, is the 8 Easy.
Yeah,
and that one seems very influenced by the Ibanez Roadstar.
It is.
Yeah.
The Acid J is just, I kind of wanted to do a modern interpretation of a Fender type thing, and 24 fret, and got to playing with it. The body's a little smaller. I've got a 5-string. I'm building a 5-string Acid J right now, and it's going to have a really neat pickup in it. I'm excited. This thing is going to blow some minds, I think.
What I'm not asking you to reveal the pickup yet, but is this a new concept, a concept for a pickup you've never built yet, or you've never investigated?
It's based on my triple threat pickup,
okay,
but it's got a different look to it, so it'll be pretty neat. It's not anything weird or anything, but I think people are going to go, "What is that?"
Now, I feel like, you were talking about this just a second ago with having early influences and stuff, and so much of it, of the craftsman aspect of it and putting this together, it's no different than being just a player. Like, you're influenced by historical things that have come before you. You're having a personal fingerprint on it. How much of this process has led you down studying the history of bass construction?
Oh, a lot. That's a great question, because every modern instrument has got Leo Fender's fingerprints all over it.
100%. Yeah.
Whether it's I don't care who makes it, big, large, small companies, whatever. That he set the bar and he set it high. In my opinion, I did get to meet the man very briefly. I was living in California, and I applied for a job at the G&L factory, and I went. They, called me in for an interview, and the shop foreman was showing me around the facility, and Leo walked up and kind of looked at me and kind of, I guess he was wondering who I was, and the guy said, "This is Bud. He's here interviewing for the job. We're showing him around," and he's like, "Oh, okay," and then he just kind of walked off. But, he that was not too many years before he passed away, but I did get to meet him briefly. But the whole it's a big thing. I mean, you can really get into it and start to study that whole pathway, lineage, whatever you want to call it. It's especially when you start like trying to build these Fender type instruments, you kind of begin to really understand what the thought process was when they originally designed it. You say, I can understand why they did it this way.
Mm-hmm. Now, a question I've always been curious about is wood choices. And this is something maybe over the last, I don't know, I'd say probably 2 years total, I've always been kind of curious about, and sometimes I'll spend a night just reading about it. It's been more lately, I've been reading a lot about it, is the tone quality of woods. Mm-hmm. And now understanding, I want to take this topic in a couple places. The first, understanding the history of why Leo Fender did what he did. What was the methodology or reasoning according to you, why Fender chose the body woods that they did. Alder and ash were pretty regular go-tos. Was that because they were easy to source and inexpensive, or were they using it for tonal choices first?
I think it was availability myself. I mean, the first Fenders were built using ponderosa pine bodies, not the alder and ash that we know today. It's I think he was building something new, that that solid body thing. Before that, guitars and basses. Well, basses didn't really exist, in a solid body form, other than that Tutmark audio box bass,
right, from the 30s.
Yeah. But I think availability, and then he was probably looking for woods that weren't too brittle or too hard or too heavy, and that had the kind of workability, because his wood choices were very different than what some of the other companies, Gibson or Martin or whoever, the woods that they were using. And the maple neck, I think he was doing something unique. I think he was doing something unique. So he was looking for probably the easiest, best way out of it.
Sure. Yeah. Now, when you do your builds, and let's take this 5-string you were just talking about. You're going to introduce kind of a new pickup design to it. How much? I don't want to say how much, because you can't really qualify it. But to what degree does the wood choice of the body influence what you're going to be doing with the pickup?
Not a lot. Nothing really. That really doesn't enter it. I'm not really thinking about body wood compared to the pickups. It's I think you just get into a build quality issue. Everything has to be just top notch, and if everything's top notch and it's built well, it's constructed well, it's designed well, then you're going to end up with a nice bass. I think regardless, I'm sticking with the tried and true. Most of the time, 90% of the stuff I do, alder bodies, a little bit of ash. Ash is getting kind of hard to find. The swamp ash is what everybody wants. So, it's getting hard to find, and it's getting expensive. So I've kind of been looking for alternatives. But like this bass is poplar body, which is. It's fine wood. I mean, the tonality of it and everything is you wouldn't know the difference between that and an alder bass if you picked it up, painted. It's just an ugly wood. It's just this kind of weird greenish brown color, but paint on it, and nobody knows.
Right. Aesthetically, it's not too enticing, but if you're gonna have a finish on it. I've seen a lot of prefab bodies that are using basswood now. And I know those are easy to use, when a CNC is involved and you're just really just cranking them out.
Yeah.
But I don't know too much about how that would relate tonally. I've only read about that as far as production goes.
Yeah, it's a very lightweight wood, and it's kind of stringy. I'm actually working on using some of it right now on a body. And it's a little stringy, but it is very lightweight. It's kind of really plain. It's a plain vanilla looking wood. No, high figured grain or anything like that. It's not fancy at all. It's probably I wouldn't say it's super cheap or anything like that, but it is pretty readily available. And it's a decent wood. It's just a little bit soft, and it's a little bit stringy to work with. But it's doable.
Yeah. So is it safe to say that your wood choices kind of are dictated more by aesthetic?
For what the bass is, if it's, I build the stuff with the fancy exotic woods, the figured tops and things like that. But and then I build the kind of the plain Jane type stuff too. So it just depends on what the customer wants or my vision. If I want to build some inventory bases, what am I going for? Uh, I kind of do it all.
Right.
It's all it's all out there for whoever wants whatever they want.
Sure. Sure. Um, is there, as being a base builder, um, have you been trying to answer the question, this is a base I would love to see on the market that doesn't exist?
Yeah. Right now I'm really excited. I just recently completed a short scale P bass, 31-inch scale.
Okay.
And I just love the way that thing feels and it plays and it sounds. And I built a 5-string for a customer last year and really liked it. And so I built a 4-string. I've got 2 more that I'm building for inventory right now. And it's just a neat little bass. It's just utilitarian. It's simple. It sounds great. Feels great. And I'm excited about that. I would like to see that thing take off.
The 31-inch scale?
Yeah.
What's the pickup? It's a P?
Yeah, it's similar to the triple threat.
Okay.
It's basically the same pickup I have in this thing. I don't know if you can see the
Yeah. Let's talk about the triple threat pickup and the P bass pickup because one, myself, I'm a 5-string player predominantly. Out in the world, when I gig, it's always a 5-string. Mm-hmm. I only have a 4-string to teach on because younger students get confused by looking at the bass.
Right.
They're trying to mimic my hands or something when seeing the extra string. So the 4-string is only for teaching. There's no 5-string pickup, no 5-string P pickup on your website.
Yeah, that's this new pickup that I'm working on. It's going to be a variant of a P bass 5-string pickup.
Okay.
It's going to be kind of like a custom application type thing. It's not going to be a swap it, sort of swap it out, in your bass.
So what is the casing more of like a soap bar style, just with the?
Yeah, let's just say it's different. I'll
okay, yeah. We don't. I don't want to try to. Let's keep the cat in the bag.
Yeah. It's the problem I have, it takes with the triple poles per string arrangement, and then you got the windings and stuff in there. There's just limited real estate.
Mm-hmm.
That and I P bass covers are really shallow. They're not very tall, and so you've got to get a certain number of turns in there on your coil for the thing to sound good. And with a lot of magnets in there and a lot of wire in there, you just don't have the room. And I haven't found those particular covers are taller. I found a source that makes a taller cover. And so I'm able to get the amount of windings I need in there, the amount of turns on the coil for it to sound good. I'm kind of stumped at a 5-string. All I can find is the little short covers. Find a cover that was a little bit taller, I would make 5-string P pickups available.
Okay, so it has to do with the cover.
Yeah.
Interesting. Where do you even get those? Like, is there a plastics company or?
Yeah, there's a couple of companies, and everybody uses the same stuff.
Sure.
All the they're out of Korea, and that's where all these modern pickup builders basically get their covers from, this one place.
Okay.
It's not like the cheaper Chinese, looking stuff,
Right.
They're more finished looking and have a good appearance and higher quality.
Nice. To dig into your pickups a little bit more, what is the science behind? Let's take the triple threat, because you were just talking about it. The triple threat has 3 smaller magnets in kind of a pyramid or triangle shape per string. Mm-hmm. Did you do a lot of research about this idea, or did you just kind of have a concept and, let's just throw paint at the wall and see what sticks kind of thing?
Yeah. That was it. I just wanted to do something different. You know? And 2-pole per strings, it's been done to death.
Sure.
They're just all over the place. They're all kind of about the same. there's some tonal variations here and there, and you can use this magnet or that magnet or this kind of wire or put this number of turns on it or that number of turns, but they're all kind of basically the same. And I was just looking for something that had an not only a visual impact, but was a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thinking about it, and I said, I've never seen a pickup with three
Right.
pole strings. So I dove into that, and it took me, I don't know, 3 or 4 prototypes to find a magnet, combination and a number of turns and stuff that I thought sounded good. And then I've been continued to play with it and develop newer ones, and I have a really broad range, and I've got to dial in those turns and things, and I was just trying to be a little bit different.
Okay. Also, not only using the three magnets per string, you also are doing some interesting things with the layout, specifically your crooked J series. Whereas, I mean, it looks to me like it's not fully the width of a standard soap bar, but it's fatter than a J pickup, and the magnets aren't in a line. If you're looking down at the bass from player position, they'd be angled more towards the headstock. No, excuse me, they'd be angled more towards the bridge. One goes towards the bridge and one goes to the headstock, actually.
Right. Yeah, that's again, just trying to be unique and coming up with things that are not too far out of, I didn't want to make anything weird looking or weird sounding, or I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, but something a little bit, out of the norm, what people are seen for 50 years, 60 years. Just trying to be a little bit different, just trying to stand out. And I've got nothing but great feedback, on the pickups, and I keep trying to, climb that slope, and, working on things and ideas and marketing things, and the word will get out at some point.
We'll be back right after this.
What's up, folks? The middle of this show is for you. That's right. Get featured, get heard on the Bass Shed podcast. Stop by thebasshed.com, click on Get Featured. If you got a new single out, you got a new record out, you got some tour dates coming up, you want to talk about a lessons platform you got going, whatever it is, whatever news you want to share with the bass world, get featured on the Bass Shed podcast. All right, featured on this episode, Jerry Jamont, Make It Happen. Life and Times of the Groove Master. That's right, Jerry just came out with the second edition of his autobiography. For those of you that listen to the podcast regularly, I talk about things I'm doing with Jerry, right? The transcription book, for one. Jerry and I went to go see Ron Carter together for his birthday. I've done a couple master classes with him. Jerry's very active in all things Bass Shed. He's been on the podcast. Check that out. There's a link to the show notes in him there. But this is how it started. This is how my relationship with Jerry Jamont started. Was he originally shot me a text with the link to his first edition of the autobiography, and then we kind of connected through that. And so now this second edition is out. The ebook version is out on Kindle. It's the second edition. There's some new pictures in there. There's some new stories. I haven't read the second edition yet. I will say this though, Roberta Flack passed recently, and I don't have the exact date in front of me about when she did, but it's maybe about 6 weeks ago from now that she passed. And Jerry was here at the studio like the next day, I think, or 2 days after, and Jerry knew Roberta, and he was saying that now maybe it's easier to get some of the stories in about Roberta. I don't know what happened there. I haven't talked to him about that in all of our dealings, I don't know if the Roberto Flack stories made the cut or not, but I know that there's a lot of new stories. There's a lot of new pictures. There's a lot more information in there about the legendary Jerry Germont. So click the link on the show notes and check out Jerry Germont, Groove Master, his autobiography, the second edition on Amazon.
Excellent, sir.
Hey, you were just in London doing some things with Scott Devine, right?
Yeah, it was. I'm a SBL member. Have been for 5 years. You know, I'm a player too, and I want to get better. And you know, and I practice a lot, and was involved with their blueprint program, which they don't really advertise. It's kind of limited to SBL membership, but it's a year-long, intense study course with a coach, a private coach, and you know, there's groups and there's a lot of other little things that go with it. And that's what I did last year. I kind of took a little bit of a breather from building, and I was still working. I was still building and making a lot of pickups, but you know, I kind of dedicated last year to that. And then Scott decided to hold a live event, a live clinic for 3 days in London. And it was a blast. It was a blast. Just had a lot of fun, and a bunch of us got up to get up there and jam a little bit with him, and you know, it's just kind of a 3 day long clinic, and they fed us, and it was great. It was great.
That's cool. Through that program, I don't know much about what he's doing there in general. The Scott, obviously I know of him. He's you know, creating a monopoly on the market. But yeah, I don't check in too much. So the year-long process, is it taking you through specific styles, or is it like, you know, the first quarter of the year we're going to focus on technique, then we're going to focus on application, and then we'll focus on style? Or is there ear training elements, like how all of the above?
Yeah, all of the above. He has like a set. I got it on the wall over there. It's like a. He has like 7 core principles, and there are a lot of those things you just mentioned. And and you know, so he kind of wants the students to focus on that. It's kind of geared towards. They call him, you know, it's a coach. So he's kind of helping you find your way, sort of thing. You know, they call them coaches, and but you know, they're essentially teachers. But they, you know, they're just trying to help you find your way, your voice, and you know, by going through those things. Yes, definitely ear training was a big one for me. I did a lot of transcribing.
Nice, I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, really, you know, writing out the parts, you know, writing out and just really tuning in and listening. That I tell everybody, my ears got bigger through the program. You know, hearing things that I didn't even really know existed, you know, but just being able to hear things and identify things quickly. Yeah. That's a bass player superpower.
That's any musician superpower, but yeah, definitely bass. Because knowing how to respond in a way that makes that shine. You know, if you hear somebody doing a thing, you're like, okay, cool. I know what that is. Like, how do I respond to the way that can make that stand out more?
Right.
I create this, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but yeah, I'm a big fan of transcriptions and transcription based learning. That's kind of my whole thing.
Yeah.
With awesome. With my students. What kind of things were you transcribing?
I'm kind of old school. I've gotten kind of narrow-minded in my old age, say the least. I've gone back to simpler setup, simpler rigs, simpler basses. So I'm like James Jamerson, Chuck Rainey.
Okay, some of that stuff is not simple. You know, David Hood, those lines are more simple.
Yeah.
The Jamerson, I mean, him, Rainey, Jamont, they set the tone for the modern electric bassist.
Yeah, big time Jerry Jamont. I know you've worked with him. I've seen some of your stuff.
Yeah. Jerry and I are cool. We just finished his book that actually went live on Amazon yesterday. It's on Amazon now.
I transcribed the chorus to his bass line in Wilson Pickett's version of "Hey Jude."
Oh, okay, yeah,
Just just blew me away when I heard that, and
yeah.
I
That was one of the ones when he came over with the hard drive, and we were listening through and selecting tunes for what he calls Volume One.
Mm,
He's like, "Man, this is gonna be Volume One." I'm like, "Jerry, slow down, man. Let me get through this book first,
yeah,
and then we can talk about Volume Two." But Hey Jude was on there. We ended up putting Deborah by Wilson Pickett in the book,
mm,
which is the chorus on that. He's getting after it.
yeah. He's incredible,
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah. He's a dear friend of mine, and it's
That's all.
never it's always surreal. Every
Yeah,
time, he calls or I'm over at his house or whatever, like we're cool, but it's always in the back of my mind, like what the hell am I doing? Like I just, like I'm bringing Jerry German a cupcake for his birthday. What the hell's going on here? It's
yeah,
pretty bizarre.
incredible.
Back to your pickups.
Hmm.
The triple threat. So this, I've been following your builds for a while and your pickup designs for a while. There was a pickup, I think it was by Delano,
Hmm.
that had the fat magnets. It was a Music Man pickup that had the fat magnets, like a Music Man,
Hmm.
on one side, and then the smaller coils, like a jazz bass, on one side. And I was really interested in that pickup. And then when I was designing and building this bass with Dan Lakin, it's a 5-string fretless.
Hmm.
I wanted to pick up similar to that, so Howard Ulyate built this pickup, and it was a concept pickup. I'm like, well, what if we switch them and overwind it? And he built what I asked. What I asked, I didn't like.
Right.
In retrospect, like, all right, I should have just left it how it was. Like, I don't like the overwinding. That bass runs too hot, and
Yeah.
especially for a fretless, it loses the moi. So I've been looking for things to switch it out with, and so that's when I came across your pickups.
Hmm.
And so I saw the triple threat, and then I saw the lane splitter,
Oh
which
yeah.
looked even more interesting to me.
Yeah.
So the lane splitter, for folks that haven't been to your website yet, but they all should go and check this out and check out everything you're making, has the triple threat coils. So how do I explain this without a visual? For audio listeners, it's a Music Man pickup. On the bridge half of the coils, the triple threat coils on the top, which would be the B and E strings, and then it's a jazz bass single coil style.
Yeah.
Do you have one right there?
This is actually a prototype of that. You can see the
Okay, yeah.
jazz coils and then the triple threats, so that the triple threats work together, and then it's kind of backwards here, but then the jazz coils work in conjunction, and then it can be wired and switched between. You can run the triple threat coils, you can run the jazz coils, you can run them all in parallel, and you can run them all in series. This one just has a three-way switch, so I think this one's jazz coils, triple threat coils, and parallel. But
Okay,
you can hook up a four-way switch, like a rotary switch in there,
yeah.
and get a series, also a series or parallel. You can get four different configurations going
Oh,
on.
wow. Okay. So now what, if I put this in the fretless, which I'm absolutely planning on doing, what kind of tonal qualities can I expect from this pickup?
The jazz thing sounds very much, kind of a typical jazz kind of a thing. You've got that kind of a thinner
Yeah.
tone, and then the triple threats. If you've got them running, it's a little fatter, a little broader frequency range, a little more output, but not hot. Then in parallel, you get a really nice kind of that kind of a Fendery slap tone,
Okay.
bass kind of a thing. And then in series, that's probably my least favorite with all the coils in series. It just kind of sounds like a big meaty, I don't know, just a big old steak sandwich or something.
Yeah. Like that's how I think of just like a normal music Yeah.
It's kind of I think some of the, the ding walls, he's got those 3 pickups like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
And some of his sound kind of like that, if you run them in series, some of the settings, it's just a big, fat, thick sound.
Sure.
So,
And that's cool. I mean, that has a place. I think the longer I play, and I used to play a Lakeland Skyline for years, like years and years and years. And what I loved about that bass is it was a Swiss Army knife. And then I could take this bass on any gig and do a convincing job of that thing. What I don't like about that bass anymore is it has no identity. And I think the more I play, the longer I play, I'm looking for basses that have an identity. I don't want this kind of nondescript bass that my session player friends, have these broad bass collections of every little thing. So if they're doing a P bass session, they bring 3-4 different P basses, and maybe, let the producer pick what character is. There's no doubt, better than I, that, when back in the days when I was young and I'd be reading Bass Player Magazine or something, you see all these different companies and they're doing all this different stuff. And the deeper you get into the game, you realize it's like 5 guys. And everybody knows each other, or everybody used to work over here and then went over to that company. And it's they're just like football players or basketball players, but just getting traded on teams all the time. Like the brands are just, it could be the same guys at Ampeg that now work at Bartolini, but it's a completely different sound that we think of when we think of the brand, but it's the same guys.
Yeah. I know a lot of folks in the business, but not the big company guys, the more of the smaller business.
Yeah.
Smaller guys, my peers, guys like me, a lot of us are one-man shows, or maybe it might have 1 or 2 employees or something, but we all kind of, I don't know, we do a little horse trading,
Sure.
with each other, some woods or whatever. And, things get shuffled around a little bit. I can do this. Can you do that? Type of stuff. I don't know a lot of the big guys. I do know Sheldon Dingwall.
Okay. Where are they out of? They're overseas somewhere, right?
No. Well, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada.
Okay.
Up north.
I don't know why I thought they were in like Sweden or something.
No. He travels a lot.
Okay.
He seems to do all these international shows, music shows, European, Asian versions, equivalents of the NAMM show and stuff like that.
Yeah. Were you out at NAMM this last year?
No, I haven't been to NAMM in a long time.
Okay.
I was kind of thinking about it. And I may try to go next year, just to say hi. I know it shrunk a lot. That's what I've heard.
It was down for a few years because of COVID, and then post-COVID, and then this year it felt like it's getting back to itself. For better or for worse, it's all of NAMM again. It's loud, it's obnoxious, but it's good to see the companies were being represented there, and there was more of a bass presence there and bass builder presence there this year, which was good.
Yeah. I had there were a couple of companies, smaller companies that are buying my pickups and putting in there. So I was kind of there by proxy, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What other companies are using your stuff?
There's a new company out of China that are trying to break into the boutique, higher end handmade stuff. They're called Wonkor, Wonkor, and they've been buying a lot of pickups. Another Mexican company, Fortazella, something like that. I can't remember. They're kind of new on they build like the Spanish style acoustic guitars, and then they last year or two they've gotten into basses, and they were there with some of my stuff.
I think I've played the first company you mentioned, Onecore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I played one of their basses. I can't remember. If they were there, I might have played one of their basses. There was some basses there this year that really caught me off guard. You know, the good thing about NAMM is it's like all this stuff I'll hear about throughout the year or see online or something. I finally get a chance to play, and some of it is surprising. You know, like, that looks way better than it plays. Or like aesthetically, I'm not that into it, but that bass feels and sounds amazing.
Right.
You know, so it's always interesting to actually, you know, put a face to the name, so to speak.
Yeah.
To play some of these. You mentioned the 5-string that you got coming up. What other builds or what are some other concepts you've been playing around with? Not that you gotta, you know, release the secrets.
Trying to think. I've got a stack of bodies out there that are just kind of taking a back seat, some ideas and things like that. And I think I'm going to just go through those and try to finish those up and put them up for sale. Just some ideas. And that's really about it right now. You know, I'm trying after last year and doing the whole SBL thing and everything. I'm trying to seriously ramp up again and you know, start cranking out some stuff. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
What from the business end, coming out of COVID and now with a lot of economical changes that will affect shipping, either getting in sources or maybe even getting out sources, you know, how's it been on the business end to navigate what the market's been in the last 5 years?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's for me, it's been up and down, up and down. I mean, you know, it when it rains, it pours, and you know, and then somebody turns off the faucet. You know, it's kind of I'm grateful for the pickups, you know, that I decided to do that because that's kind of what kept food on the table last year. And towards the end of the year, I had some inventory stuff, and for like 3 months, it was, you know, they all sold, and which was a good thing. But the pickups, I just taken some orders. You know, that continues to grow and thrive. I hope that it continues to do so. If it gets much busy, I'll probably need to get some help or something. So, yeah.
Not a terrible problem to have.
No,
but that ups the level of pressure.
Yeah, it's a good product to have. You know, because not everybody can afford a $3,000-$4,000, you know, custom instrument. You know, some guy might want to upgrade, you know, his bass or some of these, you know, some guys like to build Frankenfender type things, and you know.
Yeah, I mean those projects, I've you know, flirted with that idea for probably 15 years of putting one together just as like a little project. It always seems like a fun project to get into, but I don't have the workspace, so like I don't have anything that resembles a woodworking shop, you know, or anything. So I feel like I'd have to source all the products or all the pieces, and then take them over to a luthier friend of mine, and let's tighten the bolts on all this and make sure everything fits together properly, and you know, maybe reshape a neck. I think that's probably that's the component about every bass I'm the most fussy about, is how the neck feels.
Yeah, that's a biggie to me too. I understand completely.
Pickups I can swap out, preamps I can swap out, body woods, you know, that is what it is. Everything you can swap out, but the neck is forever. Like you're stuck with that. You know, that's That's always the biggest thing to me. So I don't know. I don't know if I've ever played a neck that I've absolutely. I take that back. I had an MTD 535. That had a great neck. Other than that, bass. What's that?
Was it the asymmetrical shape?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really nice. Other than that, I've never really found one that I absolutely love. So I figured I'm probably never just gonna love one and just just get a bass and take it over to my luthier friend and have him sort it out. I was curious about this though. As a builder, when you build a bass and then when you play it, it's your hands obviously, and what you're interested in that says this is a final product. Not saying that that's bad at all, but how do you create a bass that could be open to different ideas? Like I know I like, as for instance, the asymmetrical neck. I love the asymmetrical neck. When I'm soloing, I want the neck to feel like that. When I'm down here playing bass lines, I want the neck to feel like that. But not everybody shares that. So right. if I were gonna be a bass builder and only turned out that, well, people would be like, well, that's not for me. Do you just accept that not everything's for everybody, or are you trying to kind of find this magic bullet that everybody could enjoy?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's kind of a fine line, I guess you have to walk. Am I putting out a piece of art, that people can appreciate on that level? Am I putting out this physical thing that you can really get, stuck into? It's a lot of it's kind of a hard straight and narrow.
Right. There's a lot of variance and a lot of variables and a lot of moving parts in there.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of like, it's almost like kind of writing a song or something. You kind of you got this stuff inside of you, and you kind of want to get it out, and you just kind of do the best you can and put it out there and hope that people like it as much as you do, or appreciate what it is that you're trying to say. It's very much like that. I have a vision. There's things that I like. There's things that I don't like. Try to just walk that middle ground, and I think, it's just a build quality. I think a build quality is super important. You have to be, real specific with your intentions when you're building. You can't let things slide. I read a statement, something, I don't know, some business, something or other that, like you got to realize that like 80% of your work isn't going to be good, and like 20%, 15% is going to be great, and 10%.
Okay. Yeah.
But I was like, that's baloney. I can't accept 80% mediocre work.
Right.
My customers are not going to buy that.
Right.
I've got to do the best I can on every instrument that I build. And, there's things that I like that I put into my instruments, being there in London and getting the opportunity to check out some of the basses that other people had. Some people had really nice stuff. Some people had cheaper stuff that they could travel with, but, checking out some of that stuff. It's, like the necks and things really stuck out to me because I have a very specific, I'm like you, I have a very specific feel that I like to my necks. And the ones that I create, I spend so much time with them that I kind of develop an affair with them,
Yeah, I was actually curious about that from something you said earlier. Is you spend, all right, I haven't asked you yet, from beginning to end, a build may take how long? I know around 4 months is a realistic turnaround time from beginning to end. Is that accurate? Will a build take about 4 months?
I actually quote 6 to 7 months. I think that's what I've got on.
Okay.
But it's not that the build actually takes that long. There's a lot of waiting,
Sure.
Drying time. You glue up some wood. You can't just, you glue up a body blank. You can't just slap some glue in there, clamp it up for a couple hours and go back out there and start cutting it up.
Sure.
That stuff has to, and, you have to wait around, weeks and let that glue dry and And,
Yeah, really absorb into the pores of the wood.
yeah, and necks and same with necks, gluing fingerboards on, or you're gluing up a 3-piece neck blank or something. You just don't slap some glue on it and keep going. And same thing with like the finish work. You spray a few coats on there. You gotta wait a few days. You go back in there and sand it down. Spray it again.
Sure.
Fill up that wood grain, and fret work takes a while. Assembly, I don't like to rush assembly. I don't want to gouge anything or slip or scratch something.
Right.
That takes a while.
Yeah, it's like a tattoo. Like you only get one shot at this. Like there's no room for a slip of the hand.
No. You gotta, it's just a patient process. And when you've got, 5, 6 things that you're kind of juggling, projects or even more, you're thinking, okay, I did that on this one, I did this on that one, what's next for this one? It's you're trying to keep all that stuff square. And sometimes I have to resort to writing notes to myself.
Oh, sure.
Remember where I'm at. And
oh yeah.
Do I have enough of this material? Do I need to get some more clear coat? Do I got enough sandpaper? All that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's I don't know. I've never kept track. I never kept track of how long it actually took. It just depends on I know that there's a kind of a range.
Yeah.
It depends on a lot of it has to do with like the wood. If somebody wants an exotic base with a lot of exotic woods, now that's going to take longer because there's a lot more fancy woods to glue up versus some 2-piece alder body.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I was curious about after spending that much. Yeah. One more topic I'm curious about. I did not see on your website is anything with an aged finish. Now, maybe I missed it on your website, but is that something you purposely haven't gotten into, or interested to getting into, but haven't yet? Where do you stand on that aesthetic, the aged relic look?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind seeing it. I'm kind of I know people are doing it. I'm kind of into the look. Everybody likes an old beat up guitar.
Sure.
Bass. They look cool. I've seen some that are done well. I've seen some that are done really bad.
Yeah.
Like they've been relicked.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of I wouldn't call them relict. I call them faux patina because it's kind of obvious that, they didn't really age like that, it looks fake. So, I'm going to try one.
Okay.
I've got a project that I'm working on, and I'm going to try it. And
was this a special order, or is this your own outing?
This is my own.
Okay.
It's actually a bass that I bought back from the customer. I didn't like the neck on it. He ordered the neck. I built this years ago, and he ordered the neck, a 35-inch 4-string, which is weird. It's just kind of long and slinky.
Unless it's a bigger player,
Yeah. I built 2 of those. The second one I built was much better, but this one I actually built another neck for it, so I'm going to swap put a 33-inch scale neck on it.
Oh wow!
I'm gonna redo the finish and stuff.
Well, how does that affect pickup placement then? Because isn't the placement in relation to the harmonic and the overall string length?
It can be certainly. I think I'm not sure, but I think the pickups are no, they're not in a standard jazz position because it was a 24-inch fret, 24-inch fretted neck. I don't know. Well, I just have to see how it comes out.
Yeah,
kind of one of them things. I think it'll be fine.
Yo, Yo, this is Craig Gash.
What up?
Subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah.
Follow us on the Instagram,
Yeah.
the YouTube.
Okay.
Leave us a comment.
All right, that was my talk with Bud LeCompte from LeCompte Basses. Now, for folks that are interested, there's a lot in the conversation that did not make the published episode of this. Stop by bassshed.com. In the backstage pass, there's some things that were left on the cutting room floor, so you can hear more from our talk. And I'm really excited to, I had some other things going on. Got to get this podcast episode out and do some other things. Some of the schools I teach at, like some of them are going to festival, some of them are starting up again. It's been a transitional time. So, haven't pulled the trigger on the pickup yet, but I will let you all know when I get the this is what we talked about. It's a big part of what we talked about. I'm like, yo man, this is the sound I want out of this bass. Do I get the triple thread or do I get the lane splitter? He's telling me about all the options on the lane splitter. I'm like, that sounds exhausting. That sounds like there's way too many options on that. I don't want that. Stop by thebassshed.com, backstage pass. Check out the rest of the talk here with Bud LeCompte. I had a wonderful time talking with Bud. I'm a big fan of what he does and look forward to having him back on. And, maybe definitely want to check out his basses too, right? I don't know how that's going to happen because he's in Texas, but the world is not that big of a place. I'm sure we can make that happen. Check the links in the show notes. And that's all I got, folks. That's all I got for this one. I will catch you on the next one in a minute.